You're unmuted.
Well,
I guess call meeting order. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Yep. Just in time.
I'm here for two reasons today. One is to talk about a fund for the park board to pay the Veterans Memorial bills from, which I think Marty was going to prepare a.
it's on their desk.
Okay, great. Well, let me explain the reason why the park board needs this. Originally, as you remember, the Northern Indiana Community Foundation was our fiduciary, and they hold all the donations that were made, and we still have those donations, and they're specifically for the monument, not anything else. So they decided to change their process, where instead of sending the individual vendors checks, they wanted to send them to the park board and then have the park board pay them. So to make sure that we don't get those monies pressed, we need a special fund for that.
Okay.
So that's the purpose for that. Any questions about that?
No,
Okay.
straightforward and makes sense.
Okay. Quickly about the CVC board, that's the Convention and Visitors Commission. And as you remember, Brian, we had trouble getting people to come on board for that. We hadn't populated that board in quite some time. And those appointments are every 2 years. Well, we did get enough together for a board this year. We've had 2 meetings. We're preparing to have our 3rd meeting tomorrow. We did have approximately $28,000 because none of the monies have been spent. Rachel had not distributed those funds around the first of the year, and that has grown. We saw a huge increase in innkeeper tax monies last summer in the end of the 2nd quarter into the 3rd quarter and the 4th quarter. So I don't know if that was a result of COVID and people trying to get away from the cities and out into the country, or if that's what we're going to be seeing going forward. I hope it's what we're going to be seeing going forward. Some of these properties are on the VRBO, which collect the innkeeper tax and pay on their behalf. So they don't even have to do it. They just advertise it and all the monies are taken care of. So anyway, as a result, what we decided to do was first, we took 12 rolling quarters, which is very similar to what the Northern Indiana Community Foundation does, and decided to spend it at that rate. That way, we would always have a chunk of money if we had something big that we wanted to fund. And then in the meantime, we met with the people who prepared this festival guide for Indiana. It's the largest distributor in the state of Indiana, that there is over 500,000 copies. And we do have, like the Mid Festivals in here, the 4-H little bitty ads, which don't exactly stand out. So we met with the representative from there, and Bernadette, who is actually a member of the board for this.
Okay.
And we decided to purchase a half-page ad, which is just an example of what we did here. And they'll revise that because we don't want the courthouse as the prime, we want festivals around here. And we're going to list each of our 5 major festivals and their dates. It's $2,500 for this. And they distribute for next year.
Okay.
And then we also offered each of those 5 major festivals $300 towards an ad if they chose an option M or higher, which is a bigger, nicer colored ad. And most of them have been spending around $300. Those ads are $625. So we're funding about half of it. And I think they're all taken up on that. So that's a total of $4,000. We're going to approve that claim tomorrow. So you'll see that coming up in your claims, that $4,000 for these. In addition, we decided to distribute based on that rolling quarter percentage grants for things that promote tourism and visitors into Stark County, because that is what the fund is supposed to be used for. And I cited the Indiana code right at the beginning of the application. I used an application that was similar to Arrowhead's, that asked them what they're gonna do, how many people it's gonna affect, what kind of monies they have available to it, and it was a mix of probably that and other funds that I have done, including the community foundations. So I know I have at least two. I'm gonna go upstairs and check if I've got a third one. Those are due May 30th, and we're gonna distribute $6,600 as soon as we go through those applications next month and choose them. So I wanted to give you that update on the CVC board. There's Brian knows there's been some controversy with that in the past. So we're pretty happy that we've got things going, and we'll see how it goes. Any questions?
Thank you, Kathy.
Thank you. So I only made one copy. I don't know if you want to show that to Brian or not. Sorry, I mean, when you're cheap like me, you just share. So see you all later.
So I'll make the motion to suspend the rules and pass the ordinance establishing the Stark County Veterans Memorial Fund.
I'll second that.
Hey, Mark, or Brian. So does that specifically have to be designated as that fund? Because if at some point they need to spend money just as the park board, I mean, they're gonna have to establish a fund anyways, right?
Well, this is for just for the funds that come from the Stark County Community Foundation. This fund can't have any public funds in it at all.
That's all.
Because that way we, it simplifies the expenditure. The purpose of it, frankly, is because the Stark County Community Foundation is, looking to insulate itself from involvement, they got sued over something that they had just helped fund,
Okay.
And they're trying to reduce the chances of that. I don't know if you can ever completely eliminate it, but this should help them do that. Probably also it reduces the burden on them of handling the individual claims, but.
Sometimes the receipt alone though, like you don't always have to identify, a specific fund. It's receipted in from that. So
Right.
it has record of that. I can just have a whole bunch of funds. That's all.
I said that all correct, did I not, Rachel?
Yeah.
As far as, so this is just, it's like a pass-through fund, I guess you could call it, really. Just for Stark County Community Foundation funds that go to, and solely for the veterans
Right.
memorial, yeah. There could be another one for another fund someday, maybe, but right now this is the only one.
Go ahead.
No, that's all right.
You had more to say. Say it.
Well, I was just gonna say, it's similar in form to the fund that was set up for the farm project at the, at the jail. For the, what was that fund called?
Their farm fund?
Yeah, the farm
Yeah.
fund, which was, just, so the money that was made by that project would then go into this separate fund. It's similar. in
It's a
form.
home rule fund.
Right.
Yeah.
No, as I say, I realized it was a home rule fund. I
Right.
was just thinking down the road, if they need a fund though that they can spend out of, if
The
you're
park-
receiving it anyways.
The park board already has two funds.
I'll make a motion to approve this application for funding from the Stark County Convention and Visitors Commission.
I'll second that.
Need to sign anything on that?
That's what I'm looking at now.
Oh, this is just, this is the application that they're using for businesses to apply for the
Okay, so-
grants.
She said the claims will come in, probably
Yeah.
next claim coming in. We'll just telling you about it.
All right.
Ready? Next up, Lisa.
Good morning.
Morning.
I am here mainly to give a little bit of an update on our Rural Opportunity Zone initiative. The foundation applied for, and we were chosen along with 5 other communities in Indiana to be a part of the second round of the Opportunity Zone initiative. It's through Okra and the Purdue Center for Regional Development. The goal of it is to market our opportunity zone, which Stark County has a really large opportunity zone that runs from the north of the bridge on 35 all the way up to the south side of US 30 from LaPorte County to Marshall County. And an opportunity zone it's land that investors like to invest in because of certain tax benefits for them. So what we did last week was we pulled together about 15 people that participated in a focus group that said, you know what, these are the things we might like to see in an opportunity zone. And so based on the information that we get back from that focus group, we're going to look at the top couple of things. Well, I'll tell you that some of the things that were discussed was definitely housing. Stark County just does not have enough housing. I mean, homes are sold before they go on the market. I live in a neighborhood over towards the soccer field, and there's probably 6 new homes. And I think they're usually sold before they even hit the market. So housing is huge in Stark County right now. Some of the other opportunities for that area might include more industry, recreational opportunities. We talked about the need for more medical and dental facilities in our area. What's unique about our particular opportunity zone is it is part of the Hamlet area, but it does not include the county seat. So this is really a definite rural opportunity zone. I'm trying to find other counties and communities that have a similar opportunity zone, which doesn't include a town or a city, to get more ideas. But we've got a core group and an advisory group. And once we get the feedback from the focus group, then we will pick the top couple of ideas, and we're going to create, it's called a prospectus, which is basically a marketing tool that investors will look at and decide, if there are things that they might want to invest in our community. So that's the Rural Opportunity Zone Initiative. That was what I was supposed to be here to discuss. I'll just give you a couple of quick updates besides that. So I'm in contact with a group called IN Vets. They are a group of that is trying to promote veterans when they leave the service, getting veterans and their families into jobs. And we've got so many open jobs in Stark County. I did a poll of just the industries in the Knox Industrial Park. There's over 120 open jobs and nobody to fill them. We had a job fair a couple of weeks ago with Work One, and we had probably 6 community members there in a 4-hour period looking for jobs. I called Skill and I said, hey, Jerry, can you send some Skill kids over? Because we've got seniors graduating from high school that might be looking for opportunities. So had it not been for the Skill students, we literally would have had probably 6 people through the job fair. So until, and I know that there's a lot of communities, counties taking away the $300 extra a month incentive. I don't know if that's the answer. So if anybody's got any great ideas on how to fill all these jobs, let me know. And I will tell you, that goes along with, so I have been getting an influx of prospective companies looking to locate here. It's hard to sell our community to a company if we don't have jobs. I mean, if we don't have people for jobs, I should say. And so I would say in the last 2 or 3 months, there's just been a huge influx of companies interested. I've been showing buildings, I've been showing sites. I've been connecting companies with utilities that are interested in locating here. So we have to figure out how to fill these jobs. I mean, I think last month we were the 5th highest unemployment rate in the state because we have 400 people sitting that could be working. And there's probably more than that, but we have to get everybody back to work. So I'm always looking at great ideas if anybody's got them to address that issue. What else? So I've been working with the town of North Judson. They just had a Ball State revitalization plan done with Ball State students. They've been working on that for about the last 3 months. And they provided great information last week on how to improve the downtown area in North Judson. I was part of the Knox downtown project that did receive a grant Kathy Norm worked very hard on that project. And so, we're working with all of our communities in Stark County to market ourselves. I mean, we've got so many things to offer here. And so one of my jobs is to create jobs and make Stark County a great place where people want to live and work. So that's my spiel for the day. Thank you.
Thanks, Lisa.
Thank you, Lisa.
Okay, EMS.
I can sing. Maybe I'll roll call it. That's the hope.
It's not always good.
It's kind of,
Yeah,
it's kind of strange.
it's all right.
All right, so here's the EMS report for collections we received from the.
Okay.
So you just have to. Here's our report. Welcome to. Here's our report for the month. Whoa. Okay, so as you can see, we're pretty standard about the amount of runs that we're doing. It's pretty consistent to the amount, about 100. I'd say if you average it, probably about 200 a month. But anyway, so then we broke it down by ALS. Of course, ALS are the most runs we usually do always. The ALS and BLS transfers are broke down, and actually our percentage was higher on the transfers again. That was the percentage of, that number is the percentage of all the runs, how many of them. So 37% of all the runs we did last month that were billable were from the hospital. And that constitutes, hospital to hospital, hospital to residence, hospital to nursing home. So if they go from there to the hospital, that's not a transfer, that's a run. Okay. So the next sheet is, and it's a good thing, and we've kind of predicted this. So January, February, March last year, we weren't COVID, let's say. It might have been starting, but it wasn't. So they were, people were still going to hospitals. They were feeling comfortable, and so we were down. But as you can see, we're up 20 grand this month, and we think that's how it's going to be going now. We should be equal to what we were last year, because all last year in March, of course, all the way down, till then, we were in COVID. So that's a plus. So we looked at the numbers. We're not that far off, from what we were total last year. So hopefully we'll get back to where we were, the volume and the numbers for next year at the end of the year, or this year at the end of the year. And then the last one is just that old thing that we still just, these accounts are still in our old system. We don't bill it. We don't use it. They're just payments from collections or small claims. So it goes down very slowly depending on how much we get. And this comes off of a lot of times what we get. This usually is a lot of O'Hara or small claims because they're older. Some are current, but a lot of them are old. But that's just, we always will give you a running total till we're done with that, I hope. The other thing that I want to mention, I think Travis had mentioned, this is probably my last official commissioner meeting. I'm retiring the 31st of May. So been here 25 years, enjoyed it. Glad to have the opportunity.
You're giving away my spiel.
Oh, sorry. Okay, well,
I have
anyway,
something.
I'm sorry. I'm
No,
done.
we appreciate it. Any questions on financial?
Thank you for all of your years of service.
Thank you.
I wish you well in your time in retirement.
On page 2, is the right-hand column that says 21, is that actually 20 then? Are they just flip-flopped like it was in February, it was actually 68,092, like comparing those? Are those?
Yeah, those are what we're bringing it, yes.
Right, but I mean, in 20, are you saying you brought in 92 in 2020, but only 68 in 21?
Yes, that's.
Okay, I thought maybe those.
Yeah, no.
were flipped. Like you
I
said you
usually
got more.
compare the month. So like I said, that was January, February, March of last year when people were still going to hospitals. You know
And
what I
actually,
mean?
that's when probably COVID was around. You look at January, February, March, and people just didn't know about it. So we saw an influx in respiratory patients, things like that we were transporting to the hospital. But then you see the drop in April. When COVID again became a thing, people were scared to call 911.
And we knew that. We've
So
been
yeah,
reporting
those
this
were
every
really
month.
big months starting last year.
April doesn't have any numbers on mine. Maybe
Well, you
mine-
know why?
maybe mine's
You know,
messed
no,
up.
you know why? Because
Oh,
last
yeah.
year,
I got
we didn't
58.
work in the office. No, right there. So last year, when I gave my report, we didn't do a report in March and April, so I did a 3-month report. So I broke it down. So I'll put another, there'll be a figure. in there.
Everything was higher in 20 because of COVID. Is that what you're saying? No, that's why we're lower
The
now.
first few months were, because again, that's before we even
But
knew
see-
COVID was a thing and people were calling 911 because they couldn't breathe. And then we found out
So-
again sometime in March, and then April, we saw everything just
So-
start dropping.
From here down, if we had the 19 numbers, these were all lower.
No, that does make sense because I've been watching your
Yes,
revenue and in my
right,
mind,
right,
revenue was down this
right,
year
it was.
compared to last year.
But
I thought
that's,
you said it
that was
up.
my positive part, that we're up starting. Now we're back to, should be back to normal.
For a second there, I thought maybe they were flipped.
No.
No,
uh-uh.
no. All right, any other questions on financials?
I have no other questions.
I'll jump into my report real quick. Operations, we had no changes in our operational status. We continue to operate the 4 ALS ambulances out of 3 stations throughout the county. Personnel, she already stole my spiel, but we have a longtime office manager. The 31st or June 1st, she's retiring. Again, she's had 25 years of service with us. She'll be greatly missed. We posted her position about 2 weeks ago. And another longtime employee, wanted to bring her in today. This is Nancy Code. She's been part-time with our office for 24 years. So almost just as long as Mary Lynn. She applied for the position.
Okay.
Long story short, I placed her in Mary Lynn's now position. So she's gonna start coming with me to these meetings, preparing some financial statements for you guys to review and answering any billing type questions. But I wanted to, again, show you guys Nancy. This is Nancy. So Nancy Code, again, she's been a great employee, comes to work every day, smile on her face, same with Mary Lynn. You know, they're both fantastic.
I
to
think
work
she
with.
smiles more.
She does smile.
You can't see them now, but.
She's Miss Polly Potter. I just send people over to her to get information. Go find out.
So yeah, again, we do appreciate all of Mary Lynn's years of service and appreciate all of Nancy's years of service. And so she'll be moving into the office manager position June 1st. So let's see. Oh, we are having a small code-friendly party for Mary Lynn. I did get a flat sheet cake. That's going to be May 25th from 11 to 1 if anybody wants to stop, wish her best wishes, all that stuff. So I did send that out to all county employees that have worked with her for the past 25 years. So again, just kind of want to show something for our appreciation to her. Again, Mary Lynn too will continue to work part-time for us as needed. She's going to work in the transition process with Nancy. You know, she's already been doing that for the last few weeks now. Making sure that she's up to snuff with all the billing. They've had 2 separate jobs all these years. So moving her into more of the billing aspect of things and all that. Nancy's been doing more of the payroll, small claims, different things like that. So now she's taking over that stuff. So let's see. Also accepted a resignation from a longtime paramedic of ours. He is moving to another state. He started with our paramedic service, first paramedic probably we had in 2011. And so he'll be hard to replace, but again, he's been with our service full-time now for 3 years. Again, he's moving out of state to pursue another opportunity. So now we're currently looking for a full-time paramedic. I do have a couple applications that we're reviewing now. I'm hoping to get them, our June schedule just published, so hopefully by July we'll have them on. We have plenty of part-time staff though to hopefully fill the voids there. Training wise, we held our monthly audit and review with Stark and LaPorte Hospital. We have 2 upcoming mandatory trainings coming up for our paramedics. That's mostly related again to the airway equipment that we have. We got through some grants. And again, that's the most important part of our job. So we want to make sure they're comfortable. If the patient doesn't have an airway, we don't have a patient. So we need to make sure that we're trained up to snuff on that stuff too. We had an injury-free month in April. Ambulance maintenance-wise, 3308, which is the 2021 Ford gas engine, received a full service oil change from the Knox Ford garage. No other repairs were noted for the ambulance. 4230, our 2019 gas, received 4 new rear tires, and it had no other major repairs. That unit will go in this week for a full service oil change. 514, which is our 2015 diesel, is currently out of service for auto body repair at Mark's Body Shop after thankfully a minor accident last month. It will continue to be out of service till at least this week or the end of this week. The holdup there is getting it fit in with the original graphics dealer out of Francisville. He's got to do, once they repair everything, he's got to kind of blend in all the graphics that it had before, indicating Stark County EMS, 0514, those certification numbers, everything has to be just like it was before. 0086, which is our 2009 Ford 6.0 diesel, remains out of service for those electrical repairs. Signal 10 equipment from Knox is still trying to figure out the electrical issues. Again, it went to Ford thinking there was an electrical issue on their end, but they found out it's an outfitting problem.
Okay.
So I have Kenny from Signal 10 trying to hunt all those wires down and figure out why we're not getting power to the back of the rig. 0085, 2013 diesel. Originally went here to the Knox Ford dealership to see a diesel technician. Again, they've been starting to help us out here locally with the diesel when it comes to the DEF system. Unfortunately, they said it was a software issue with the DEF system, so it had to go to Chevy, which was over in Plymouth. So we took it to Auto Park GMC Plymouth and Chevy. The unit had gone into limp mode, to make a long story short. So after so long, it'll start advising, you have 55 miles till this, till it drops down to 50 miles an hour. You can't go over that, and it just keeps going.
Yeah.
So it is back in service now. That's actually the unit that Medic 5 is in currently, while theirs is in the body shop. 2012 Chevy diesel, which is 0084. More than likely, we're going to have a new alternator for that ambulance, starting to show some signs of failure. We hope to have it replaced here, hopefully by the end of the week once we get the other truck back in the body shop. So right now, we're running okay with that. The ALS non-transport vehicle received new tires, also had some recall work performed, and it had some suspension work completed. Base maintenance wise, we had no major base maintenance issues for the month of April. Other happenings, still assisting Frank as needed with the health department. Again, mainly those are on Wednesdays and Thursdays. Typically, I've been doing home visits for COVID vaccines on Wednesdays for those homebound people with disabilities, and again, non-ambulatory folks or just very high risk. So those have been going well. Typically, I try to do those on Wednesdays. But if not, I'm a vaccinator, support staff, or just medical staff on the days he has clinics at the community center. So those numbers are starting to come down. I think Frank's on this call, but I know he's hoping to wrap this clinic up soon because we're not seeing a whole lot of first-time signups.
Okay.
Let's see. State recertification. I'm happy to say, hopefully by this Friday, we're going to have our new certification. I did turn in the lengthy application again. That wasn't due till July, but they like to have it again 60 to 90 days beforehand.
Right.
So we are now certified again for another 4 years with BLS, ALS, and ALS non-transport service. Let's see. Yeah, we'll get our new certification paperwork, and it was very important. Again, we get that stuff turned in early because now Mary Lynn and Nancy, they have to send it off so we can continue to get payments from Medicare and Medicaid.
Right.
It ends.
If we have an expiration date that ends in July, they need to see all that we're still a certified ambulance service through our state. So that was important to get all that stuff in a timely manner. Quarterly EMS meeting, we continue to have a great working relationship with local hospitals that come to the quarterly EMS meeting at LaPorte Hospital. They had a lot of positive things again to say about our staff and that we're new and proactive with their equipment, and they're impressed with our service. So that's a meeting with Porter Regional, LaPorte, and Stark CNOs, the ER directors, everybody like that's in attendance to kind of hash out any issues we may be having, whether it's radio issues, communicating with the hospital, new procedures they're doing. So I like that we have those meetings with them. Grants and fundraising. We held a recent fundraiser with American Legion Post number 356 out of Hamlet. They were gracious enough to donate the evening's proceeds on May 7th. I'm happy to report that we were able to get $1,500 from hosting that fish fry for us, and it was an amazing turnout. Can't thank the community enough, American Legion and Hamlet enough. That was awesome of them to do it. I know it was their first fundraiser, and hopefully this sets the bar for many more to come, not only for us, but other organizations. So we also received a grant from the Indiana Department of Homeland Security of Health for 100 doses of Narcan. The grant should save our department approximately $8,000, as the grant not only includes Narcan, but atomizers as well. Our current cost to the pharmacy would range anywhere from $30 to $40 per 2 milligram dose. The price for atomizers is currently at about $15 per device. So again, approximately about $8,000. Those funds fluctuate a little bit, but happy to save that money there. Also in the process of filling out other grants for cardiac monitor that needs to be replaced. All the ambulance monitors have been replaced within the last few years. But I do still have one machine that needs to be replaced. Those things are salty, $25,000. I know we signed a contract a few years ago, 0% for 5 years to get all of our monitors replaced. But the machine does 12 lead EKGs, blood pressures, defibrillates, paces, cardioverts, measures saturation levels, capnography levels, all that in a patient. So it does a lot of things that we need, and it is a required piece of equipment. Currently on my ALS non-transport vehicle, we have the LifePak 12 monitor, which they are no longer servicing or making parts for. So that's why I'm again exploring the grant opportunities, not only with the community foundation, but other local agencies. So we currently are in the running also for a $2,500 grant through RMC, and they hope to have that answer to us in June.
All right.
One thing, Russ.
Yes.
Shoot, that's a lengthy one. Yeah, sorry. I wanted to talk to you guys too about our rates that we currently have in place. We have not changed our rates for charges in the last several years that I can recall.
No, it's been a while.
So, I reached out to Pulaski County, Newton County, Fulton County, LaPorte County, basically all the surrounding counties, just to see what their billing levels were at. And again, with the inflation, not only in ambulance repair costs, fuel, everything in between, I wanted to see if we were comparable. So I made this little chart for you guys, proposed rate increase, basically. So the BLS non-emergency, we currently charge $506. The lowest we saw was $452, and the highest we saw was $1526. So you can see there's a wide range, so I didn't have any proposed changes for that. BLS emergency, which is $600, that'd be approximately an 18% increase, is what we were looking at. Well, again, the lowest there was $550, and the highest was $2,064. ALS level 1, looking at approximately a 3% increase, looking to make that a flat $1,000. I think this will make it easier for the billing as well, instead of having all these dollars and cents and everything in between. And again, I talked about this with Mary Lynn and stuff beforehand. So the problem is with this, some of these rates that we'll see from Medicare and Medicaid, they're going to pay what they're going to pay. Where this could benefit us is any auto accidents, private insurances, so Anthem Blue Cross Blue Shield, Cigna, they will actually typically pay these amounts. One of the biggest things as we go down here, you guys can see the others, the ALS level 2, the critical care transport, but the loaded mileage. We've been at $12.50 a mile loaded miles for, she can probably
Probably 10 years. I mean, we
least
haven't
10
brought
years.
this forward in a long time.
Back when gas was consistently
Yeah.
under $2 a gallon.
Yeah.
We
So
did this
again, looking at the
before then.
inflation costs, and again, a way that we can try to bring some revenue back to our county and keep these ambulances on the road initially, okay? So again, we were charging $12.50, we're looking at $15 a mile. The lowest I did find in the area was $12 a mile. I think that was LaPorte County, but the highest I saw was $40 a mile. One of the biggest things too they were worried about was the write-off side of things. So you'd be probably seeing more in write-off areas if you did increase the charges again for those Medicare and Medicaid patients. But it could bring in revenue in other areas too.
And these rates would be competitive with Pulaski and Newton County?
Yeah, yep. Pulaski and Newton, those were definitely two that I got a hold of.
All right.
Pulaski, I believe, was in the $15 to $20 range. And yeah, Newton, I have all those figures back here where they emailed me, but
Cool.
Newton County they were the lowest at 12.
Yeah.
So LaPorte's at $12.50 as well. Treatment no transport is another increase that we were looking at. About $150 is what we charge there. So typically what treatment and no transport means is we arrive, somebody has low blood sugars, common one, so they're unresponsive. We arrive there, find that their blood sugar is 32. start an IV, give them D50, they wake up and say, nope, I don't want to go to the hospital. So we instruct them. It's kind of a win-win for the patient. Obviously, they're not getting stuck with a massive, hospital bill. But at least we could do is, charge for our medication of the dextrose, the IV supplies, maybe oxygen therapy that they received, anything like that. So flat $150 fee.
It still seems low for that sort of thing.
It is. Probably our biggest thing.
Okay.
So.
There was a time when we didn't do that though, right? We started this like when you started.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's different.
We never used to
right
charge
now.
for
No,
refills.
we never charged
No.
anything.
We needed to, that was the problem.
Right.
They were
Yeah.
running so much and then they
Right.
would not
Well,
get the
because
treatment, but then not want to go to the hospital.
Our supplies, I mean, because they always usually.
Again,
give
inflation
some-
of everything.
Just the supplies and the timing your people have
You
to
don't
take.
have to.
Yeah. So again, those were the charges that we're looking at increasing. Again, specifically, it was loaded mileage charge. And while we were at it, I was just kind of seeing where everybody else was.
I believe you have to approve it though. I think you have to approve it so we can change it.
Make the motion to approve these proposed rate increases.
And I second that. Okay, right.
Thank you, guys. I'm done now.
You mentioned it.
Oh, yeah. Is it okay? I appreciate you guys switching the meeting time for us today, but is it okay if we start coming to the third meeting if we're gonna have that at 9:30 in the morning?
Yes, in fact, you and any other
Department heads that are
department
already
heads
here.
probably should switch to this meeting.
Okay.
Oh, sure, now that I'm leaving, I have
So yeah, that was one of the things.
You chose the timeline here.
Yeah, right, you're
What I'm
right.
doing here?
Yeah, I'm done rambling now.
Yep, we're done.
He's online.
Anybody have any?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions, Dave?
Hey, Fred.
Yep.
Okay. Sheriff Doolin's online, about the health link grant. Can you hear me?
Can you hear us okay?
Yep.
Okay. So we've worked with HealthLink now for maybe a little over a year and a half now with the MRT team. We have a great relationship with them. Mimi tries to help us with anything that she can add in on her grant. She got us a TrueNarc last year. And this year she's looking at being able to supply us with a full-time sheriff deputy and a social worker. Her grant would include all benefits, and then it would include the salary. That does only go until October of 2022. Then she would reapply for the grant and then go from there. She has got that grant for the past 3 years, so she doesn't see any changes in the grant. But we would need to get that approved. Did you have time to look at the email that I sent?
Yes.
Okay. So what we're looking at on the county side is obviously we would have more coverage. Our guys are in a month, they're running to 882 calls a month. So that would be able to help that load. And as I talked with Pearman prior, we talked about vacation time alone. My vacation time, the guys, just the road guys, the 8 guys, comes out to 1,344 hours that we need to cover. And if I cover that with a full-time officer, I'm looking at $43,000 just to cover those hours. And with part-time, I'm looking at 24,600. And I currently have a part-time budget of $7,000. So this would help alleviate some of that load on the county. Got any questions or thoughts?
Well, we're actually on a hiring freeze, but if it was through the grant money.
Yeah, it's
As
100%.
long as we have the grant, I wouldn't see anything wrong with it, but I mean, when it runs out, if we don't get it again, I guess we'd have to look at it then.
Yeah, that's my concern is if by the off chance you don't get it again, are we gonna let that deputy go or are we gonna have to find some other way to fund him?
We would either let the deputy go or find a different way to fund it. Same with the social worker. And the social worker, we can put it in her contract that it's on the grounds of the grant.
Dave, thoughts?
Yeah, well, I had met with the sheriff's department and Brian and I were playing email tag, so we didn't get to meet prior to this meeting, but Yeah, the numbers are tough as far as what they're trying to juggle and just trying to get staff on there. But one of the things I was just thinking about is that part-time line. I wonder if it's possible to fund through the grant a current deputy, but then increase the part-time line. I don't think that's one of the things that we thought of, but that might be,
Huh? Run that by me again.
in other words, fund an existing deputy with the grant money.
You mean, so you want to take away part-time money and basically move that over to a grant? So we're saving in part-time. Is that what you're saying?
Or add it to part-time.
Well, yeah, some creative way of juggling that so that they have, you know what I mean? Like it moves more into part-time, so they have more part-time funds available.
If they're getting a grant, it's gonna have to be a totally separate fund.
Yeah.
And this totally separate fund, from how I understand it, is gonna pay for the FICA benefits, for the sheriff's retirement, for everything,
Right.
absolutely everything.
That's why I'm saying like funding an existing deputy even, but take that amount that's within their budget, put that into their part-time budget.
Oh, you're saying not add an officer, you're saying just pay for one that we already have.
Just bump up the hours on one of your part-timers.
Well, or attract more, but we did talk about this too. I know it's hard to attract part-time as part of the problem. I guess I'm just, Mark just brought up the thing of after the grant type of situation. And then now,
Yeah.
even though if it was a merited officer, any of that, like Marty said before, we still can reduce staff also within the sheriff's department. So literally we could take that position
Yes.
away.
That's true.
But and I'm sorry to spring this on Pam and Bill because we've spent some time together over the last month, a few times, just trying to look how to, better service and work with their budget. But I was just thinking that like it would be a win-win then possibly, but throwing it out there as one option because then I think she's saying that they just don't have enough part-time budget either is part of the big problem. It's only 7,000.
Yeah.
Like if you could, you know what I mean? We could raise that by a full amount.
Take away from the part-time budget in county general.
No.
You're not raising why would you raise the part-time budget in county general?
Because if we funded an existing position with the grant,
So
so then that amount of money would be available in the budget, move that.
Yeah,
to
we
part-time.
she can't do that. Her grant is written to fund a new officer, not fund an existing officer that the county already pays for.
Okay. So that's the constraint of the grant. We have to add a person.
And why don't you just, in the job descriptions for both of these, put that stipulation that if this grant ceases to exist, so does the position possibly?
No, you should definitely do that. Yeah, right.
Well, yeah, we would have to do that. I'm just,
I mean, as far as on my end with financials and stuff, as long as the grant is gonna pay for absolutely everything, there shouldn't be a problem.
right.
I mean, health insurance, everything,
Right.
absolutely
Well,
everything.
Like I said, I looked at their numbers with them. I looked at their numbers separately. And, the bottom line is that a scenario like this would help their overall budget just because they do have, so many employees now that they can't cover, with
So-
vacations.
And this is a
things,
grant they've
holidays.
gotten multiple years in a row. We're just writing it a little differently this year.
Correct, yes. HealthLink fully writes the grant. They get the year. They've had it for 3 years. We would just submit a claim to HealthLink like we do for MRT and then reimburse.
So Pam, if you put a new patrolman with this grant on the road, is this gonna decrease any of your part-time budgets in seated or county general?
The part-time money that's in seated is for
Jailer?
corrections.
Okay.
Yeah. But absolutely, it should lower overtime. It should lower part-time because we have an extra guy who's going to work 84 hours every 2 weeks, so he can cover anything that those guys
Right.
need.
Does this change how many officers you have out on duty at any given time?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we currently run 2 per shift. They run 12s.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, if you break that number down, they're doing 110 calls per person. So that would help with their load too, coming in on their days off and earning comp time that we have to cover as well to get things done.
But you'd still be running 2 people per shift.
Not if we got a grant.
Patrol.
Yeah, so we would run 2 people. We don't have the numbers to not run 2 people per shift, and we won't put one person by themselves.
Okay.
So this guy would be kind of a floater. We know when our busier times are busier days. And then, like we had mentioned, covering vacation, off time, anything like that.
All right.
If we can hire, that's the other problem though, is trying to hire people, and we're always low on staff.
Yeah.
That's the only reason why I was trying to think about a way to make the part-time, available, but
Yeah, but the grant constraint is, it's gotta be
Yeah,
a new position. So if the council will support, you think, lifting the hiring freeze,
well, I don't know if we'd be saying we're lifting the hiring freeze, definitely not doing that. I mean, we're still going to be, we're gonna feel pain in 22 and 23 also because of, and you just saw our revenue collection is down. I mean, when you look at the numbers, we're just an EMS alone, which affects our whole pot of money. I mean, all of our revenue's down, so I would say no, not lifting the other departments, if they get 100% grant that covers all the benefits, then that would be a different story.
Thank you.
okay? So how do we get this done now?
You can approve the patrolman and social worker position, but you definitely want
Yeah.
them to provide you with job descriptions as well. So you can approve it pending the, going over the job description.
And also contingent on the
Council.
funding.
Yeah.
Well, that, but also contingent
On the
on that
grant.
funding continuing. If the funding stops, then
Got
the
all that?
positions are done.
Yeah.
I will.
Like I said, it's, yeah, so long as the grant goes through, it's not a problem.
And they turn in the job description to us.
Yeah, like a motion to approve
Second.
the creation of the additional patrol officer and social worker, contingent on the receipt of the grant and after you forward the job descriptions to us.
Okay, I'll have those to you before the end of the day.
Get that.
All right,
Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you.
Prosecutor Baker on.
There she is.
Good morning.
Hi, Leslie.
How are you?
Good.
Good. So today I'm coming before you to request either a new position or changing one of my existing positions to an investigator. I sent you the job description, but the essential functions of the job would be to act as a resource and an aid to ongoing investigations throughout the law enforcement community. Right now, we have one detective inside the county, and as Pam mentioned, there's 882 calls that they field throughout the county. Some of these cases calls may not result in a criminal case, but some of them do. And we have routine issues through nobody's fault, just because of lack of manpower with getting some follow-up, additional information, interviews, and that sort of thing. So the idea of having an internal investigator would be to supplement what is already happening in the law enforcement community. This person would assist in preparation for trials. This person would help in meetings with victims as well as other witnesses. So it would be an essential function of the office to help the office do a better job of helping law enforcement do their job. The idea would be to turn, if I can't get an absolute new position created, to change the position that my paralegal Julie has to be an investigator, which would just add to she's already doing the job basically, but she doesn't have the title, nor does she have the ability to participate in some of the training that police officers have the ability to participate in. In addition, what I'd want to pay her, what I'd like her salary to be, would be commensurate with what one of the county detectives receives. I have had the opportunity to talk about this position with the sheriff and Chief Deputy Lenderman, and both said that they are in support of this position, and said that they think this is a good idea to add to the infrastructure for the law enforcement community. I also think this would be a great way to support some of our smaller departments in like the town of Judson and in Knox, just because they don't have detectives right now. And I think this would be a great asset to help with ongoing investigations for those departments as well.
So after this would be, and since he already jumped off, I can't ask him directly, but in your conversations with the sheriff, he'll be keeping his staff of detectives at the one then?
I don't know that. I believe that, I know they've had a person be promoted to one of the positions of detective. It's my understanding they're still looking to fill another detective role, but still that puts us at only 2 detectives for the entire county. And like I said, the idea of this position is not just to focus on county calls, it's to focus on all law enforcement calls. So this position would be a resource to other agencies within the county as well.
And are you shifting funds within your budget, or do we need to pull, or do we have to pull funds from somewhere else to get it?
We would have to pull funds from somewhere else because that salary, I believe, is 30,000. So we would need to pull some funds from someplace else.
Yeah. Dave.
So if I could weigh in on this, I have talked to Leslie about this and the sheriff. And so I'll just tell you my stance from the council perspective. First of all, it's not always good business practice to add a position in one department because another department is unable to secure or hire an individual.
Mm-hmm.
So I agree with Leslie. We've been down in that case. We've been down in staff, period. I mean, the sheriff's department is affected just like all the other government departments where people just aren't applying for jobs.
Mm-hmm.
And Lisa brought that up earlier. Some of it has to do with what the federal government is doing for supplement. All these things affect our job pool here. And so originally, as far as just speaking on behalf of the council in these meetings, what I have said is exactly what you just said. If the sheriff's willing to give up one detective, then we would be willing to add the detective into the prosecutor's department. I feel like those 2 departments should work together. I don't have a degree in criminology or other things. I'm not an attorney, but I've been around county government for a long time and law for a long time, also being a fire investigator. But what I'll say is that we like those departments to work together.
Yes.
And
yeah, I would prefer, that we get the detectives going at least, I don't know if it's above and beyond, but doing works to the point where, Leslie just gets that from them instead of having to have her own person.
She said somebody's already doing the job. So I don't know if there's a benefit to like changing that person's job title, but here's my concern, Leslie, is that, and we've kind of talked about this, is I'm just concerned, I'm concerned overall. You saw earlier, I gave the EMS a little bit of a hard time. All of our revenues are down. I'm still concerned about the negative balance in the PTD fund and just looking at your budget that, we're going to run into budget trouble anyways in your department, but other departments also. And so I don't know where we would find that, and I don't know how we would sustain it. Right now, the DLGF and the governor's office have been sending us information to help us try to prepare. I've talked to the state representatives and other people. Marty's seen some of these things that have come through as well that are telling us to be very cautious.
Mm-hmm.
The state of Indiana is talking about being, as far as the full pot of money being okay, but as far as revenues and the future, it's very uncertain at this point. And so I don't know how we would fund it. Again,
Well, if I could interject to respond to a few of your, concerns that you raised. I mean, this is not an uncommon position for prosecutors' offices to have. We're one of the few prosecutors' offices in the state that doesn't have this type of position. And I mean, the position doesn't just work hand in hand with the police. They also work on behalf of our office. They serve subpoenas. They provide service. They go and track down witnesses. And this isn't to say that we're not able to work together with the sheriff's department or any other department. This is the idea of having somebody internal that has that experience and knowledge from the law enforcement side, as well as the legal side of things in terms of helping to prepare criminal cases for trial ultimately. And so, like I did say, Sheriff Doolin isn't in support of this, as well as his chief deputy Lenderman. And I think John said he was going to hop on here and share his thoughts about this position. So if he wants to do that, but I just think, and I get the funding issue and I get the issues with the PTD fund, but I've raised at budget time the concerns I have with the PTD fund and us being reliant on that to fund my office. And so that's probably going to be another conversation we have during budget workshops, because it's not responsible to force me to run my office on discretionary funds that may or may not be there and are going to differentiate from year to year depending on what kind of cases we have. I think we have to start looking away from solely relying on the PTD to fund not only supplies for my office, but staff. I mean, I've got parts of salaries that come out of there, and I mean, it's constantly in the negative because we just don't have as many cases that we're doing PTDs on because it may not be appropriate. And so, I mean, we might have to come to, the point where we look at moving away from using the PTD fund to fund this office.
I don't disagree with that at all, but the bottom line is I'm talking about as far as your cumulative budget. I mean, if I was to raise what you just raised to the state right now, what they would say is they would say cut somewhere else. I mean, that's just where we're at right now within the budgets. I'm sorry. I mean, it's hard to hear that, but I mean, I have to defer to my colleagues within state budgeting, and I see what they're telling me right now and saying to do. So again, if we could fund that with a grant or something, I think we could approach that in a much different way. As far as adding an employee and also paying their all their benefits, that's just not in the cards right now.
So my inclination now is to table this, to give Leslie some time to come up with a proposal to give to us to actually fund what she wants to do. And then we'll take action once you have a complete proposal on for us to review and approve. Because if we don't have an identified funding source, it doesn't really make sense to approve the expansion of your investigator.
I agree with that.
Okay.
I'll make that the motion to table.
Second.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll get it done. We just got to figure out how.
Maybe ask the judge.
Oh, Mr. Salyer.
All right, I have a question. First of all, is Kathy Norm still a commissioner in the county or?
No.
No.
She's not. Is anybody taking her position now?
Hi, I'm Mark. I'm
Okay,
the District 1 Commissioner.
like, I'm John, it's all my neighbors. I don't know, what's your last name, Mark?
Gorley.
All right, nice to meet you, Mark. And I don't get involved in it. You sound like you know all the bottom lines on the money then.
I wouldn't say that I'm an expert, but I try to be.
Okay,
But
Well,
I'm also probably in your district if Kathy was your commissioner, so I may
okay,
know this.
North Bend Township.
North Bend Township, definitely,
Yeah.
yes.
But this is my question. And it gets into your grants. You talk about funds that you're getting a percentage on these projects. This road that was initially gonna do, that was gonna be done, and that was filed out, the only road in the county that was filed out properly and the date was done on time was our road. But my understanding is since then, there's a road at the north part of the township on 600 that's gonna be under a 25% grant and 75% the county to pave that road up there. But I talked to Bob last time I was down at the meeting. He said he thought we could chip and seal it. He thought we could chip and seal it twice this year. Since then, I don't want to be a pest calling all the time, the garage, everything, but the paper did say they would coordinate through me on this letter getting that road paved so I could let all the rest of my neighbors know. Originally, Rick was planning on paving it. He talked to Danny, he came out, and after they initially invested the money of putting all this base down of probably 3 to 4 inch ground up asphalt and rolling it, we got a really good base. They invested all that time and money, the trucks, material, the equipment, the fuel to prep this to get it done. They've got it ideally in a really good situation. The only problem we're having with by putting it off is that the buses are going back and forth. They're making it real washboardy. People like to have it graded. As they grade, anybody that lives on that road can tell you where the gravel ends up. It ends up getting pulled off to the side, and that's where it goes. And you deplete that base that you've already put down. It's a huge investment by the county to do this program. We did our part, went all the way through it. When I called out the county, I got a message. One of the girls called me back, saw my phone. Luckily that I wasn't there and she just left it. So it, mine prints. I don't know, some people's phones, some don't, but it came out and printed the message. And she said that Bob was planning on doing it in September. Since then, I talked to the girl here, and she said that, what is your first,
Rachel?
Rachel. I talked to Rachel the other day, and Rachel informed me that the funds have been cut and we probably won't get a road paved.
Yeah, because you're talking about two separate issues. What you're talking about with Bob in September, that's chip seal.
Yeah.
I'm talking about paving.
Yes.
Two separate things. And Brian, Mary Parent.
I can speak to this. We do intend to chip seal that road.
Yeah.
We are not in a position to chip seal roads until August because our paving equipment is being maintained right now to get ready for paving season. We put the ground asphalt down last year, as Mr. Salyer said, as a base with an intent to chip seal over that. We will continue, as we do with all of our gravel roads, to grade that, to maintain it, to keep it from being in a washboard state until we are ready to chip seal it. And when he says chip seal twice, what he means is we are going to do a double layer of stone. We are going to do a double chip seal. It will be a one-time treatment. We're not going to come out there 2 times. But during the time we are out there, it will be a 2-layer chip and seal process on that road. What he's talking about with 600 is the bit of community crossings money we got to hot mix pave, and we're doing that paving ourselves. We're buying the mix from Reeve Riley and doing the paving. The reason that qualified for community crossings is because that is a major truck route for trucks coming down to Hamlet to the elevator out of LaPorte County. So his road does meet the criteria and the qualifications and was accepted last year by the commissioners for a chip seal improvement. That is 100% local funds. We have every intention of doing that. It will not be done until August or September.
So there isn't a grant tied to paving 700 South?
No, there is not, and nor would it qualify, unfortunately, for a grant, because as we are applying for those community crossings, the state is looking for value for their dollar. They're looking for roads with a high traffic count. They're looking for roads that serve an industrial purpose by linking, in this instance, traffic coming out of LaPorte to traffic coming to Hamlet, to the elevator, to the industry there. They're not looking at, unfortunately, local roads as being good candidates for that. If we had the money, everyone would love to have their roads chip sealed. If I told Dave Pearman how much that would cost, he would probably have an aneurysm right there on the spot. It is unfortunately not a practical option. But we do have every intention of chip and sealing that road. It is just, unfortunately, our chip and seal season is the end of summer. We cannot take this out of order and do it right now because we are not able to do that because it's materials, it's equipment, it's oil. We do that the end of the summer.
Okay. Is there a dust issue that we might have to address with some sort of dust abatement?
Oh, I can show you. These people live at the end of the road. I can show you pictures on my phone. I'll dig it up, but you don't believe the dust problems we've had out there over the years.
Well, the grindings, I'm sorry to interrupt you, sir, but the grindings should cut down on the dust.
It has.
Actually,
It has. I agree with you on that totally. It has, but you still get a black dust. But and you're right, and I'm not going to disagree with you at all. But my point is, that's a huge investment to put in that road.
Yeah.
And you've got it right there. My time frame with the buses running on it and giving it that washboard effect would be when they're out. And that would be May 28th. Their school's done at Culver. I called the school and found out. That would be the most, if possible, if the equipment's on.
Yeah, from the sound of it, that's not possible. But it will happen in September.
August or September. We just,
Mark,
As he does make a good point with the buses, if we can get it before the start of the school year, that would be optimal.
We will do our best. Unfortunately, what we have found and what everyone is finding is supply chains right now with parts are very, very behind because so much was shut down from COVID. We've got equipment, our paver right now, if we wanted to go out and do this work, we just got our stone chipper box back and we're waiting for parts for some of our other construction equipment.
Yeah.
Which if you insisted and told me you have to go out and do this right now, we would have to incur a considerable expense to go out and do that, which would cut into our ability to maintain other roads. So we're waiting on parts for things. And also when we chip seal, we have to order oil in by the tanker full.
Right.
And that's not something you can just go get a little bit to do something.
Yeah.
We have our roads for the day that we're doing and we get those tankers of oil in and it's all hands on deck to get that done. We are doing as we always have toward the latter part of the summer with that. We will continue to grade and maintain that road. Hopefully the issue he mentioned with the buses, and school buses unfortunately are not kind to county roads. But the school is going to be at her pretty soon, so that will only be an issue here for another few days, thank goodness. But it is our commitment to continue to maintain and grade that road and get it chip sealed by the end of the summer as part of our chip and seal program this year. We have every intention of doing that.
Good. I got one question. Is it true that your budget got cut this year? Did they cut it?
I'm not sure what you need.
The county garage budget, did it get cut?
No, it hasn't been cut.
No.
Okay.
We've just got some unique constraints we're playing within right
That's a
this
rumor.
year.
Yes, that's.
You know,
I told him the budgets got cut because technically what the DLGF approved as the highways budget, they don't want it. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on behind scenes. So
But
yes,
it's
the
not the county
highways
that cut
budget, no, it's not the
Right.
county that cut it, but yes, it has been cut behind the scenes.
Well, that's my concern, but go ahead.
Yeah, I'd like to say something too. John and I contacted every property owner on that stretch of road, 1 1/4 mile. And all of them agreed to getting the road, the forms we filled out to have the road blacktopped. Okay?
No, sir, I apologize if there's.
Now, wait a minute, just let me finish. I understand. I don't have no problem with chip sealing and that, because I have done homework on that already. That will work on our road. But my thing is, when NIPSCO put those towers on that road, there was a bridge there on 850. So consequently, the dump trucks, I'm not saying 100, I am saying hundreds of dump trucks going up and down that road, tore that road up bad, the base of the road and everything. Everybody here has to live on that road daily. There's a state police officer who lives on that road, who drives his squad car to and from work from his residence. He has to keep his car immaculately spotless. And he told me, he says, if it rains or the roads are dusty, I have to wash my squad car. I mean, this is something we put up daily, and it's a washboard road. Another resident on a road, his tire rod A-frame or something broke. He had to get a tow truck to have a tow. I'm serious, going on that road, and county has been grading it almost every week of no available. I mean, it is horrible, and we all have to live on that road.
Well, that's why we was hoping that possibly there'd be a more opportune time when the bus is not running to move it forward in the agenda on the time frames of paving if we could. My other thing is, I've heard it all, and I've lived out here my whole life. I grew up out there. And I've been insulted to the point where when I brought the issue up, people told me, you knew it was a dirt road when you moved out there. Well, I grew up out there, and I almost was born out there, but they took me to the hospital, my mom instead. But after that, I was there my whole life, and I've invested in more farm ground out there myself to be, and we've all worked, we're all retired, we all live out there. And we just don't want to see this, somebody else come in and take it over as a superintendent and make the decision that I'm not gonna do that road.
That won't happen.
It shouldn't be up to, right,
Decision
okay,
has been made, the road will be done.
okay, that's our concern.
Ma'am, you have something?
Yes, when we talk about buses,
Yes.
we're talking about Culver twice and Knox twice. Both those
Yep.
school buses go by our road.
I would figure as much, yeah.
Yeah, so you got both times.
Yes.
Another thing, she was talking about high traffic. You have to put one of them rubber things across our road for traffic. That's like a highway.
We actually have,
Back and
sir,
forth, back and forth. I bet there's a car goes down there every 10 minutes.
we have electronic traffic counters, and the person who places those is actually off for a couple of weeks. I will ask him to hang those up.
Well, I
But-
mean, it's to know, I mean, if you got it, it's kind of a waste of
Well,
effort if you gotta actually go
but
and pave it anyway.
We do intend to pave it, and to the gentleman's point, yes, we did receive that fully completed application. Thank you both for asking everyone on that road to fill that out, because that is the process. And that did not in anywhere say the road would be blacktopped. It said the road would be improved. The intent is to bring roads up from gravel to a chip seal road, because that is the most economically feasible road surface we have in this county for what are considered to be our low volume roads, which are most of our roads actually. So yes, it is the county's intent to chip seal this road. It will be done when we do our regular chip seal schedule. Unfortunately, we do not have the ability to take one road out of order and do one the 1st of June and then do the rest of the roads in August.
Because when is your chip and seal? Yeah,
It will probably wrap up sometime in September. I don't have a full schedule yet, but
you know, that's my, that's
Sir?
my,
If we got it,
yeah.
it's on the schedule, it's not gonna fall off, it's gonna get done.
I promise you.
You guys, one more thing.
Yeah, we have complained about the road for many, many years, but one thing last year, I think it was last year, the road was in such disrepair. What they did was put up a speed limit sign, 35 miles per hour. Well, that was useless because the buses go 40, 50 down that road.
Okay. Yes, sir.
My name's John Lanius, and I live over in that North Bend Township, and I just want to say, I talked to Brian about replacing a culvert and stuff, and I want to thank you for that on 750 going towards Aura. But something happened when they put those towers in, they destroyed all the roads in North Bend Township. In that 700, 750, it's destroyed. I mean, they're destroyed. And I don't know if 750 or 700 is on the agenda or not.
I'm not sure, sir.
But I mean, something has to be done with these roads. I mean,
And
I don't know if NIPSCO left a bond or something, but I think they should have to pay for it.
Well,
and we got potato trucks going down there, and we got semis hauling chicken manure every day on 750. You know, it's unbelievable the truck traffic that we have now. It's unbelievable.
Well, with the towers, NIPSCO did make the county whole for the money. And there are wild rumors out there that the county got millions and millions of dollars from NIPSCO. Rachel was actually at the highway department when that whole project took place. NIPSCO videoed the condition of the roads before and then reimbursed the county for the damage they did.
How much was that, you know?
I don't know off the top of my head.
$107,000.
How much?
$107,000, which
Oh,
went
wow.
right back into the
That's
revenue.
nothing.
Right.
So, okay.
So anyway, there's
Let's-
rumor out there that there's all sorts of NIPSCO money, and I just want to lay that to rest in front of everyone right now. There is not.
All right. But yeah, your concerns are going to be, this year has just been a little goofy. It's not only just coming out of the pandemic, but you know, we've got the additional hiccup of having to get a new highway superintendent.
I understand.
And so, but this will not fall off the radar.
It's
Okay,
gonna get done.
that's what I was told 2 years ago.
Okay, well, I wasn't here 2 years.
I know.
Okay.
And that's what I was told by the superintendent, that he wouldn't forget about us in North Bend Township. And I'm seeing roads getting paved in Judson, I'm getting to see them paved in north of North Bend and everything, and nothing's being done in North Bend. I'm just saying, something's gotta be done with some of the roads in North Bend Township.
Yeah, it sounds like they're pretty similar to a couple that I know of that got dealt with.
And another thing is, you know, if we're gonna let these big companies come in here and do projects in our county, we gotta hold them accountable and not just pay $100,000 or whatever for these roads. I mean, they need to be held accountable. Some of them trailers and that NIPSCO brought in had, you couldn't even count how many axles were underneath them with the equipment they were bringing in.
100 ton.
Yeah, I mean, it's just unbelievable, the weight that, our roads were never designed for that, for chip and seal. And now.
Byron, you're the township trustee out there. Do you have anything to say?
Well, we run into this problem at times.
Yeah.
But,
I'm on a township advisory board over there too, North Bend Township, yes. That's the biggest complaint we get is that particular washboard road.
Okay, well, it's,
Well,
and as the equipment becomes available in a cost-effective manner, it'll be addressed.
If you can be patient with us for a few months, we will get to that for you, but I do not have the physical ability to go out and do anything about it until August, okay?
And on the good side about it, you know, you hardly ever hear anything positive. And personally, when they did the road, I called up the county and told them, I thought they did an exceptional job. They really did. They put down probably 3 inches of ground up asphalt. They had rollers out there rolling it. You couldn't see the difference between one truck and the next truck. The guys on the graders was exceptional. And they got the road really, really in good shape to be chip and seal.
And it will no doubt get back to that when they are ready to actually do the chip and seal.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Our concern is, this is my main concern, and then I'm done with it.
Okay.
My concern is that we'll get toward the end of summer and we'll hear these words. Sorry, but we ran out of funds before we got to your road.
That's not.
That's not going to happen.
No,
Okay.
your road is a priority, I
All right.
promise you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anybody, you guys, you got everybody?
Yeah, well.
Thank you.
Moving on.
Marty, you want to?
Thank you.
Kind of
Let me
explain
explain the proposed resolution here that I brought forward to you. Okay. I received it, as you know, the county's involved in the multi-state, multi-jurisdiction opioid litigation. The county's been a named party and we've participated in that pretty actively for a while. This year, the legislature passed a statute that affects that litigation, which really, kind of consists of how do you describe it, other than the state wants to take over, that litigation and to basically control how the funds from that are going to be distributed.
Mm-hmm.
And I contacted, I think, Mark, you brought that to my attention, in
Yes.
fact, and I called up right away and we had an interesting conversation with our attorney, and they didn't, at that point, have much of a strategy. But since then, they have responded.
Good.
And what they're doing is they're suggesting, first of all, that we consider opting out.
Mm-hmm.
And as part of that process, there's a firm that they've designated in Indiana, Cohen and Mallard, who I looked at them, and they are a prominent firm doing this kind of work in Indianapolis. And so it's a 2-part project in a sense on a very short period of time, which first of all, the commissioners would need to approve addition of Cohen and Mallard to the case. Now, that doesn't have any financial impact because the percentage of the take that we go to the lawyers, it doesn't change. And personally, I like the idea of having an attorney here in Indiana who is handling this. One thing we haven't had that when I called, it didn't seem like they honestly knew that much other than that it was happening.
Okay.
So, but I guess they got the message. The message was they needed to get somebody who could do that. And that's the first step, and I'm suggesting that you do that. The other one is, now that's what needs to happen today, really, is so that I could go ahead and tell them that they can, get on the case as our attorney. And the second part, though, is actually where we go from there. There's not a whole lot of time for the county to take the action to opt out if the county chooses to do that. Now, both Cohen and Malad and the attorneys that that have been handling our case advised us to do so. And that's what I thought too, looking at it. I felt clearly we were in a better position, particularly because the impact of opioid epidemic was very strong here. But secondly, more importantly, perhaps, is I think we did a very good job of providing data. We had excellent data to show the specific impacts in our community. And that's one of the things I really feel like if the Attorney General takes it over, it's likely to really dilute our efforts in establishing the particular impacts here. And also, frankly, they were going to take the money and spend it how they wanted to anyway.
And that's the question that's first and foremost in my mind is by opting out, what is our risk of actually winding up with a settlement lower than what would be provided through?
I suppose you'd have to say there's
state budget.
Yeah, I think that's honestly, from what I see so far, I think it's very low.
Okay.
In fact, I think it's almost a certainty we would do better. But you never, there's no certainty.
That was my gut instinct, but I wanted to make sure my instinct concurred with your professional opinion.
And they're all sort of looking at the crystal ball in a way. I mean, it's like Yogi Berra, I think, said, predictions are hard, especially when they're about the future.
Right.
But this one, I think there's a couple of points of it, particularly that even aside from the fact that the state's going to decide how to spend it, and I really got the, part of the thing was that when I talked to the people in the state about it, they were saying, well, otherwise there might be some small town that only gets $50. And I thought, that's really truly ironic because frankly, the impact of this was going to be that small towns end up getting $50, I thought, to be honest with you. But the aspect of it that is that pushes my thinking the strongest in that way is that the Attorney General's office so far has not, they're not even, as far as I know it, they're not talking about including the major manufacturers like Johnson & Johnson in their litigation. And those are the ones that have the really large ability to pay, and the costs of this have been so immense. So I really feel that, but here's the thing, we don't have to make that decision today. That's part of what, Cohen and Mallett are going to be able to advise us on that. And so far they've endorsed doing it. And so far I think we should. And so far the attorneys that are handling the case think we should, but we have until June 23rd to do all the things that are required in order to opt out. Now, here's the thing about opting out too. We want to put it the last minute we can do it without taking the risk of being too late, because the clock starts ticking on for your right to opt back in at that time. Okay.
On the 26th.
So it isn't a final decision. We could reverse that decision if it appears that the action is going the other way, which I don't think is too likely. But so we want to be close to the 23rd. And I guess what I think is we want to we want to look at whether the final action you may want to review that on June 7th, timed to take effect like on the 22nd or something like that, so we can get all our paper in, and yet we wouldn't start the clock running. You see what I'm saying? That would be my advice on how to do this. Do you have any questions? I mean, I know this is all somewhat speculative, but
since we got to the 23rd?
Well, no, but you see, it's a two-step process.
That's for reversing their decision to opt out. We need to get the opt out in.
Well, first of all, we have to actually take Cohen and Mallett, we have to, agree to have them represent us.
Yeah.
And I think that we clearly should do, and that's what you're doing today. But you're also directing me to go ahead and collect the information and give you a proposal about opting out, not telling you whether to do it yet or not, right?
So I'll make the motion to approve this resolution for an opt-out review.
Second. Aye.
Give me a signed one here and I'll get that to him sooner the better. I'd like to get that to him today.
Okay. Stark County payroll in the amount of $246,265.22.
So moved.
Second? Aye. Vendors claims. Vendors claims, the amount of $389,134.54.
So moved.
Second.
$17.
All right, Dave, you want to talk about the EMA director?
Yeah, so, as the chairman of the EMA Advisory Council, I had sent you guys a recommendation from the EMA Advisory Council that we make an offer to Ms. Hannah Luth, who is a former resident of Stark County and has been away because she's been in the Public Safety Academy, so her training is directly relevant. She's done some exercise. We've had a couple of meetings with her that I thought, and Rachel joined us on that, and I thought that they were very productive. This is on the top of her list as far as her professional interest post-college. She's able to support very aggressive timeline. Not that I'm chucking the whole thing of being your EMA director in the interim, but I would like to see you have somebody in that role. It seems like she would be a good fit for all the things that I communicated to you. I'm just requesting that if you'd like the advisory council to, on their behalf, on your behalf, we'd like to make an offer to her with the existing job description, but we'd like to negotiate once that process starts. As I mentioned, we had proposed to her our thought of, from the county side, of possibly making that person the grant administrator within the county, not just on the EMA side. And as I had said in there also, within oversight of EMA overall, I met with them at the EMA meeting a couple weeks ago at the MAC Center in Valpo, and they thought that was a great idea. And they said, actually, a lot of counties are doing that with the perspective of possibly making that the full-time again, but with those extra responsibilities that would benefit the whole county.
But she's coming in with the understanding that
Part-time to start, yes.
And she is going to give 30 hours a week?
Yeah, yes.
Okay, because I was going to give half that.
Well, yeah, I mean, and I feel, again, I feel like I'm, you know, I have a lot of responsibility in that. I just thought that he would be able to put more, and it was a faux pas, but I feel a lot better about this. In fact, she'd like to work towards the full-time aspect of it and be part of our county family as an employee.
We'll move to have the EMA board offer the EMA director position to Anna Luth.
Yes, I second that.
Thank you. And just for your information, she did say she would be able to start on the next payroll that would come after May 31st, or starting at May 31st, basically, is when that rolls into the new payroll. So I'll get that done right away. I'll copy you guys on it.
Okay.
Okay. Anything?
Yeah, I understand that Richard Callahan passed away that was running the beach. Was he leasing that beach or did he own it?
He leased
He
it.
was leasing.
Who owns it?
That's
County.
No.
Yes.
Yes.
I chaired the committee from the state of Indiana for Bass Lake Beach and campground. I have got paperwork that says Stark County does not own it. Stark County leased that. They don't own it.
I'm sorry, but Stark County has the,
Yes, I've got the lease, copy of the lease. I got a stack of paperwork from the beach.
it's not really an issue.
I know
Stark
basically
County clearly owns
everything
the property.
that went on at the beach up to present.
Well, it is controlled by the county and we've delegated the management of it to the park board.
The state did that with a lot of their properties, you know, over the years. I mean, they changed their collateral.
That's the situation as it is now.
Okay, I got one more question. At the last commissioner's tax sale,
Okay.
there was a deed sale at the same time
Okay.
at the tax sale. How did that deed sale get on a certificate sale?
It was two
Rachel?
separate sales.
Pardon?
It was two separate sales. We had the certificate
I know there
sale.
was two separate sales at the same time. Usually there's one certificate and one deed sale, but they combined the both
No, they didn't combine it. It was two separate sales.
They were just held on the same day.
Yes.
at the same time.
No, the certificate sale was at 10 o'clock and I think the deed sale was at noon.
The same day.
Yes, same day.
Okay, if I wanted to get a piece of property on a deed sale, how would I go about it? Or could
You
I?
can investigate that later. That's not a question we can answer here.
You can come see me in my office, upstairs auditor's office.
Okay.
Yeah. I have stuff. Before you end, I have stuff.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
What you got?
Also, WKBI, I think you're on here. If you could please mention something that the commissioners still need to appoint a BZA member. It can be a D or R, either or. And we're,
Okay,
you still have BZA opening.
all right, that's nice.
I think one was appointed, but she lived in the city of Knox and you can't live in an incorporated area. And what's the status on you reviewing the superintendent applications?
We need to do that quickly. Yeah,
been-
there's a hard deadline coming from what I've read, because some of the grants hinge on having a ADA person.
Oh, the 88.
Yeah.
You want to talk to me about that later or?
Yeah, that's something that we should talk about when we've got the full board here.
On the residency of that, I think the rule is that you could live in the incorporated area if you own land.
In the
I know there's a lot of little, nuances in that
Okay.
law, but I think
That's right.
for that one, you could actually reside in an incorporated area if you owned land in the unincorporated area that's part of the zoning district.
Got it. That's right.
That's it?
That's it.
Terry? Anything? Jack, you got anything in the back? All right.
Can I say one more thing?
Sure.
I forgot something, but this is kind of a little success story. So this is the first year that Skill has had an EMT class and a fire and rescue class. Those are held over at Oregon Davis Schools. The EMT students took their certification test on Saturday and every single one of them passed their certification.
Good.
And I believe there are 6 students in this first class. So hopefully we'll have more students next school year. But I know our EMT program, I know we're in need of paramedics and EMTs, and it's a statewide problem. It's not just something unique to Stark County. So we're trying to meet those needs by offering programming through Skill that will help with those jobs in the future.
Motion to adjourn.